my pleasure to be here with you. I'm Marlene Lopez, and today we're here from the Library Francisco Javier Clavijero in Tepoztlán, number 1594. What are we gonna do today? This is an advisory video about reading fantasy literature. Here, we will talk about some characteristics and different genres of literature, and also I'm gonna give you some tips for understanding by reading some stories. Okay, so let's get started. Number 1, do you know what's a library? Well, a library, here you can see two pictures. Which one do you think it is? Well, a library is this option, the option to the left. A library is a place where you go to read and study books. And a bookshelf, it's a place where you buy the books. So it's different. In Spanish we say librería para el lugar donde compramos, que en inglés es bookshop, y biblioteca se diría más bien library. Okay, so let's continue. In this second presentation, what do you have here? We have 4 different books. Do you know or do you imagine what's the topic of the book by the cover? Well, I can see you first. We have Little Red and the Riding Hood. Second, we have, I think it's the independence of Mexico. On number 3, we have Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. It's a character of Mexico that we really know and love. And finally, we have The Lord of the Rings. Let's gonna get what genre is this book. A genre is a type of story or the topic of something. So let's gonna see the options. Little Red Riding Hood is a fairy tale, okay? Because it's a fantastic story. What happens in the second case about the independence of Mexico? This is a history book. This book is about real events that happened. But what about the third? We have Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. Do you remember that she was famous because she wrote poetry? Okay, so this is a poetry book, a book of poems. And finally, The Lord of the Rings. Well, The Lord of the Rings is a novel, it's a long story, but it's also fantastic. So these are 4 different types of literature that we have. What's your favorite one? Okay. Now let's continue. I have this activity for you. It's a part of our reading, and after that we're gonna have some questions for comprehension. Let's see it. This is called 5 Children and It. As you can see here in the little cover, you can make some predictions. We have 5 characters, and then we have this extract. Okay, the title is Beautiful as the Day. Listen and follow the reading. The 5 children moved from London to the countryside. After a long journey, they finally arrived. Here we are, said Mom. How white the house is, said Robert. And look at the roses, said Andrea. And the blonde, said Jane. It's so beautiful, Cyril admitted. The youngest said, wanna go walking? The children explored the gardens. They loved everything. They were going to be happy at the White House. The White House was on a hill, with a wood behind it and a gravel pit on one side. One day, Andrea, Cyril, and the others discovered that a fairy lived in the bright pit. At least they called it that because that was what it called itself, but it wasn't at all like any fairy you ever saw or heard or read about. Okay, this is an adaptation from the original one. Now let's continue. We have some questions for you. Pay attention. Question number 1. Who is the author? The author is Edith Nesbit. You can see that in the cover of the book. The author is the writer or the creator of the story. Number 2. Who's the publisher of the original edition? This is the Strand magazine. This is the way we get the book in the physical form because they produce it. Finally, number 3. What does 1902 refer to? 1902 is the publication year. In this year, the story appeared. Okay, but now I have other stories for you. We have 6. Number 1. What kind of text is the extract and how do you know? Well, this text comes from a novel. How do we know it? Because we can see here the chapter 1. A novel is a long story, that's why it's divided in different chapters. Well, question number 2. Where does the story take place? Esta pregunta es sobre dónde toma lugar la historia, no dónde se publicó, sino en dónde suceden los hechos que nos cuenta el cuento. En este caso, the city is London. Number 3. How old do you think the children are? Well, I imagine here you have different answers, but you can make some predictions. To me, they are between 7 and 10 years old. And finally, what did they find and where? Well, they found a fairy and in the gravel pit. What's a fairy? Probably you know it. Do you know Tinkerbell? ¿Han oído de Campanita? Campanita, it's a fairy, and this is one of the common characters on fantasy or fairy tale stories. Well, and finally, I have a kind of reflection for you. Tengo como una reflexión para ustedes. Have you heard, han oído esta frase? Don't judge a book by its cover. En español es, no juzgues a un libro por su portada. ¿A qué se refiere esto? A que no nos dejemos llevar por las primeras apariencias. Cuando vayas a una biblioteca, la siguiente vez que visites también una librería, checa los libros, lee la parte de atrás y no solamente te vayas con la primera impresión. ¿Ok? Eso fue todo por hoy y bueno, espero que lo hayan disfrutado. Muchas gracias. See you later. Bye bye.
Gobierno de México.